Hi, I'm Patricia Greenberg, and welcome to Eat Well, Live Well, Age Well on KABC 790 AM. My guest today is best-selling author Francine Russo. She's a widely recognized journalist, and she covered the Boomer Beat for Time magazine, wrote for Scientific American, The Atlantic, and is the author of They're Your Parents Too: How Siblings Can Survive Their Parents' Aging Without Driving Each Other Crazy. Today, we're discussing her newly released Love After 50, a comprehensive and intimate guide to finding, keeping, and enjoying love after 50, the best kind of love there is. Welcome, Francine.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here.
Now, your new book, Love Over 50, I like how you worded this, a comprehensive and intimate guide to finding, keeping, and enjoying love, the best kind of love there is. So I want to talk about that. It's a treasure trove of information and tools to navigate dating for the boomer generation. Now, you mentioned that love after 50 is more satisfying than at any other stage in life. Why is that?
First of all, we're grown-ups and we have a sense of perspective. We're more emotionally stable. We tend to live more in the moment, and we've had so many experiences that have given us a sense of perspective. I mean, if you're over 50, you've experienced divorce or widowhood, you've lost someone you've loved, and you know what matters and what doesn't matter. And when you find someone that you really connect with, you appreciate that person and you don't try to change him or her, because there isn't time for that. You want to be with the person you're with.
Absolutely. You should be on a billboard on every major corner in the United States. Really, I mean, this is all we talk about now, right? I mean, among our peers, people who are older are saying, don't you know what's important? Yeah, it's very, and it just seems the world's becoming more highly sexualized and objectified than ever. You know, we all think we're past that, but it seems to be getting worse. Let's talk about this emotional wellness as we age. And you talk about how to get beyond the past traumas, death, divorce, abusive relationships, and going forward from being a single adult to being a couple and moving on to have a rewarding relationship. What are the first steps you take to change that box that we check off when we're asked our marital status? That's always the question. What's your marital status? Yeah.
Well, the real question is, what is the state of your head? Because chapter 1 of Love After 50 is do the head work, and that is the most important thing. So if you've been divorced or widowed, you have to heal. You know, I dated too. Let me just say that I was widowed twice, and between my first and second marriage, in that 10 years, I made all the mistakes that a person can make, and I learned from them. So the first thing, I dated too early and I came home sobbing. I hadn't healed from my grief. Other people I know, they're still angry. They're so angry. There was a friend of mine who knew she was too angry. She said, if I wrote a dating profile, my headline would read, "Don't F with me."
Right.
She knew she was not ready. So you have to heal, but you also have to feel okay about yourself. Now, I was very needy and I was desperate, and everyone said, oh, those are such unattractive qualities. You can't go dating if you feel like that. And I said, but I am needy. I am desperate. How do I fix that? And it was a bit of a struggle, but I realized I learned how to fill some of my own needs. I learned to enjoy being alone. I rediscovered my childhood love of cycling when I was in Amsterdam, and I bought a bike in Manhattan. And when I was on my bike with the wind in my hair, I didn't need anybody. And I learned to go out on a Saturday night in Manhattan and sit by myself at a cafe after the movie I watched by myself and chat with people and flirt with babies and pet dogs. And I'm not going to tell you I wasn't lonely. Sometimes I did want to have a partner, but I wasn't desperate. I was okay. And the thing that you have to learn how to be is okay. And there are a lot of tips in the book to help you do that.
You know, there's two questions I have for you that I hadn't even thought of now until you talked about that freedom of being single without needing someone, even though you are, it's okay to be lonely and it's okay to want a partner, but you can also be okay by yourself. There's a lot of things going on that can be okay at the same time, which I think a lot of people don't realize. So two things. There's no timeline, right? There's no, like, you hear this when someone's grieving, whether it's, God forbid, a child or a spouse or a parent, whatever that might be, don't do anything for a year. Like, everyone has these set time frames. Do you think there's a set time frame?
I don't think there's a set time for when you heal. Some people grieve, it takes them longer. It depends on the relationship, the person they lost. Although I do think it makes sense not to make major decisions like selling your house or moving to a different country in the first year, because you're in tumult in the first year and major decisions. I really do think that's good conventional advice. But you grieve step by step, and you know, if there's one day when you think, I feel okay, I'm enjoying life, I'm not grieving every moment, then you say, well, maybe now's the time to try dating, and you try it, and maybe it's the right time and maybe it's not, and you decide to wait a little longer. So much of this is trial and error, but the important thing is to try. Just try.
I love what you said about people. I don't love it, but that you brought up that people harbor anger for way past what warrants a necessary period of time. And I see it too. I mean, sometimes you ask someone and they're divorced or widowed or whatever their status is for 20 some odd years, and they're still telling you the same thing. And 20 years has gone by. That's 1,000 lifetimes for many people. What do you say? What are some steps you can take to dispel some of that anger?
Well, you were so right about this, first of all. And I have a section in Love After 50 called Don't Be a Victim. And I was thinking of what a divorce lawyer told me. He said, I would say to my clients, do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? And most of them would say, I want to be right. Well, those two things don't go together. And I also teach people anger can be your friend at first, but if you don't let go of it, it will be a knife in your heart and you will be eternally unhappy. And I do show some ways you can claw your way out of anger toward happiness.
Do you come in contact with people who are angry, even in a happy marriage, angry at the spouse that died?
That's part of the grieving process. And I have spoken to some widows, and I felt this myself. Now, my first husband died, I think, of denial, because he needed an operation. He was terrified of it. He wouldn't go back to the doctors. And so I was very, very angry with him, because I really believe he needn't have died. On the other hand, over time, I thought, he's not here to enjoy life, and I am. I'm enjoying the children. I'm now starting to enjoy dating and being with other people. I have life. And I forgave him. I stopped being angry, and I thought about everything I had and everything he didn't.
When you're rebuilding your life, there's a lot of things that, and we've all had it, with death, job loss. There's a lot of situations in life that cause this, natural disasters, things that are out of your control. I think for the most part, if you're not a murderer, the death of a spouse is out of your control. Right. I mean, and you could drive someone nuts about going to the doctor and take care of themselves and so forth. But the thing is that it's not your fault. It's not your doing. And that's one thing to come to terms with. The other thing is that, you mentioned a history of unfulfilling relationships, how this is heavy stuff, Francine, to think about. But a lot of times people are married for a very long time and they didn't get along with the spouse's family, or they sacrificed a tremendous amount and now the person's gone. And I can't tell you how many people, friends of mine who are have gone through this, will tell me, well, it's too late. I'm too old. I'm too fat. I'm too, I've already, I've ruined all the relationships. I had the kind of husband that wouldn't let me have friends, or whatever and men telling me that about women as well. They wouldn't let them be with their parents. They wouldn't let their children do A, B, and C. So those are the kinds of things that I think are really need to be worked on at the loss of a spouse as well.
Yes, that when you have those kinds of feelings, that's called complicated grief. But let me tell you, my whole book, Love After 50, is about dispelling those myths, because every day people who are less beautiful, less fatter than you, if I can use such a terrible word, shorter than you, less accomplished than you, these people are finding love every day, all around you. And it's not too late for you. In fact, it's the ideal time. When we talked about the qualities you bring when you're over 50, yes, you made mistakes and you did things you didn't like and you suffered things you never want to suffer again. So I have an exercise in the book where you take a piece of paper and you draw a line down the center. On the left side, you put don't want. On the right side, you put want. And these are the characteristics of your next partner. Under the don't want, you put the characteristics of your ex-spouse or your several exes of various kinds, and you put down the negative. For example, emotionally unavailable. And on the right side, you put the positive version of that. I want somebody affectionate, giving, and who expresses his feelings. If on the left side, treated me as a lesser person. On the right side, I'm looking for someone to really be an equal partner with. And when you get a list of 5 or 6 or 7 positive traits, then that's the person you look for. And you look for that person now I believe in online dating. That's how I met every person, every important person in my life, except my first husband when I was 24. And you pay attention, you read carefully to what they write in their profile. You pay attention to what they write in their emails. You have a phone conversation, and you don't grill the person, but you listen carefully to what they are saying. And does this person express his feelings? Does this person seem to be looking down on me? Does this and you look for that, you pay attention, you look for it on your first date and all your dates, and especially when you're starting a relationship. And you will find there are people that will not have all those qualities, but you will find a relationship so much better than the one you were in.
You also mentioned having realistic expectations. So I guess we have to get in reality and out of denial about what's going on around us. Can you speak to that a little bit?
I certainly can. I hear 2 things from both men and women all the time. There's nobody appropriate for me, or I won't settle. And I want to know what those things mean. What's appropriate? Usually people mean somebody has this same education I do, the same lifestyle, the same amount of money, the same religion, whatever it is. And those are the things those are the boxes you check, box, box, box. Okay, those are the things that are least essential for your happiness. That list you made before shows affection, treats me as an equal. That list is what will bring you the partner you want. And the other one, throw it away. I want people to just imagine this. Imagine you're with somebody who really gets you and doesn't judge you, who holds you close when life is really hard, who adores you. Yet this person does not check off any of those boxes.
Right.
Is that settling? Not for me. To me, that's a great relationship.
That's an interesting point. I'm Patricia Greenberg. You're listening to Eat Well, Live Well, Age Well on KABC 790 AM, where we talk about all things aging well. I'm here with Francine Russo, and her new book is Love Over 50, a comprehensive and intimate guide to finding, keeping, and enjoying love after 50, the best kind of love there is. I want to mention this is a great book for both men and women. Will help us navigate the dating scene and finding love and ultimately thriving in life, because that's what we want no matter what age. Francine, this is a bottomless pit of information. I don't know how I'm going to get off the
May I show
call
the cover?
with you. Yes, you can, of course. There you go. Beautiful. Love After 50 with spooning on the
Notice
cover.
the two
The
spoons.
spoons, yes.
I had nothing to do with the cover design, but my partner and I, we love to spoon.
Mm-hmm. It's a great way to connect. There's no question about it. So let's talk about sex after 50. Now, there's also sex after 60 and 70 and 80. I want to clue everybody in. So 50 is just that's the starting date, right? So let's talk about that a little bit. Because that's the biggest thing that people are afraid of, is not being able to have sex anymore. Okay,
so here's the thing. Sex can be the best sex you've ever had. And you say, what? How can that be? I'm all dry. I have no estrogen. The guy has lower testosterone. His erection, even with Viagra, is kind of iffy. Mm-hmm. How can we have the best sex? Okay, here's what I say. Just because of the changes in your body, you have to talk to each other more. You have to say what you can do, what you can't do, what hurts, what you need to get off. You need to experiment. You need to be erotic friends and partners, and your sex can be more sensual, more sharing, more intimate than it's ever been in your life. It's a new model of sex, and whether it's intercourse or not intercourse, that doesn't matter. Right. But a little story I find funny that was told to me by someone, 2 70-year-olds, they're making out like crazy on her sofa. It's the 5th date, her bed is just a few steps away, and suddenly he says, wait, I have to tell you something. And he says, I have a vascular disease and I can't get an erection, but I can give you pleasure. And she said, great, I can't have intercourse, it's too painful. And let me tell you, this couple worked out a great sex life.
Good for them. Good for them. Yeah, it is. It's all about the communication. And I want everybody to understand that men are just as insecure and frightened of sex when they get older with a new partner as women are. Men are afraid they're not going to be able to perform or hold up. So keep in mind, and also in same-sex relationships, whatever the relationship is, the people need to come together and talk about this. And like you said, you can have a thriving relationship in the absence of what we consider 20-year-old sex, right? I mean, when you were 20 years old, compared to now. And I like what you said, that sex isn't pass fail anymore, that nobody's judging the others. Are they good in bed, quote unquote?
This is absolutely true. And there's a whole new model of sex for.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
There's a whole new model of sex for older people.
Okay.
So that it's not about performance anymore. And it's about mutuality. A lot of men don't realize they need foreplay.
Yeah.
Just like we always did. Only a lot of men either don't know it or are reluctant to ask for it. But boy, will they find out how fabulous it is if you show them.
Right. Right. Absolutely. So we're going to move on to the next topic that you talked about, which is another hot topic, is how do we navigate commingling our lives in regards to money? I would think marriage is off the table at a certain point if you need to protect your assets.
Are you kidding? That's what lawyers are for. No, seriously, almost every couple I interviewed who got married and had some degree of affluence, middle class, upper middle class, right. They went to a lawyer, they made wills or trusts for their kids, they had a prenup or a postnup, they legalized everything. There was absolutely no reason why marriage should be off the table.
So why get married when you're older? Is it solidifying the commitment the way one does when they're younger?
For some people, marriage is a religious thing. For mm-hmm. other people, it means to them total commitment the way nothing else does.
Okay.
And for other people who don't marry for financial reasons, because say she'll lose her alimony if she marries, or she'll lose her partner's Social Security, her late partner's Social right. Security. Those people sometimes have commitment ceremonies. They wear a ring. They are just like married couples, and they just haven't gone through the legal ceremony.
I would think it's a daunting thing for someone who's had a horrible divorce or a death of a spouse and they ended up financially destitute as a result of it. I mean, those things are I'm talking more from a practical standpoint that I really agree with you to find somebody that gets you and loves you and wants to be with you. But I think the practical aspects of finances do have to be looked at.
They certainly do.
Mhm.
And I have a whole checklist in Love After 50 about how you handle certain financial questions. And I do suggest, I have a whole list of questions people should, before they either move in together or get married, that they should ask their lawyers or financial advisors. And however, I think if the two people love each other, as long as they're okay with each other's situation. For example, there are a number of couples where the women were left better off than the men. The men were, they weren't financially irresponsible, but they lost, the Great Recession really hit them hard.
Sure.
Or a divorce decimated their income or whatever. And they get together and she has more. And at first they start like splitting everything down the middle. And she said, one of them said to me, we would only go to the theater twice a year because he had to figure out what was important enough to spend $100 on. And now these people are together 5 years. They really love each other. And she said, you know what? Let me buy the theater subscriptions. I can afford it. I have someone wonderful to go with. Who cares who pays?
That's how I feel. It reached the point, if you're equal partners, it doesn't really matter who's paying for it. Francine, what do you think of the gray divorces happening now?
Well, the thing is, I think that what's possible now, my whole book is possible, the kind of new relationship people can have is possible because great divorce happened. It's not true that there are no single men out there. There are tons of single men out there. They got divorced in their 50s, as did plenty of women. Now, some of those women who are single in their 50s just think, I don't want a relationship again. I'm so happy being single and not answering to anyone or being with anyone. So don't think that there are no men out there, because honey, there are plenty of men and women out there.
Francine, like you, I'm a step parent, and for me, so far, so good. The kids were
Good for you.
The kids were grown when we got married. When I say grown, they were between 19 and 22. There's 3. And then my husband and I went on to have a child as well. So all 4 of them are, good kids. And you mentioned more in the material. I didn't get a chance to read too much about it, but how does one deal with, and you put hostile adult kids and stepkids to safeguard your relationship and your family? I want to talk about that a little bit, because that is obviously, if you're getting remarried or repartnered later in life, it's very highly likely that one or both of you have children.
The important thing is to go in with limited expectations. Now, almost everybody I talked to had at least young adult children. Some of them had 50 and 60-year-old children, depending on their age.
Right.
So have limited expectations about blending your family, because very often it will not happen. And being cordial is the best you can hope for. Also, if you plan to leave money to your children, or they expect you to leave money to them, take care of that right up front. Go to your lawyer, create separate documents, and share with your kids, this is what I'm going to leave you. It has nothing to do with my marriage. And that will so eliminate a source of suspicion and hostility. The other thing I would say is, if your kids, no matter their age, have feelings about your getting married, whether it's that guy isn't good enough for you, or daddy, how can you get married again? Mommy just died 5 years ago, or whatever it is, hear them out, listen to their feelings, because parent is a parent forever. Do not say to yourself or to them, for goodness sake, you're over 50, just get over it.
Right. It's a very interesting issue. So I have friends who were divorced or widowed, both men and women, And it was really a mixed bag. Someone say to me, well, my daughter doesn't like the guy I'm going out with, so forget it. I'm not going to marry him. Or the opposite of the kids, he's kind of a schmuck, but the kids really like him and I need a husband. It's opposite ends of do you go against your kid's wishes? Because I know the kid could be still grieving the mother and saying, you're marrying someone else, you're replacing my mother, which really isn't going on, but that's how it feels. And it could be a true disdain or something. We're getting low on time, but I just wanted your quick thoughts on that.
My quick thoughts are, if you are in love with someone and you trust your judgment and you think this is a person who's going to make you happy, you do everything you can to explain your feelings to your kids, to hear them out. But no, you don't not marry this person to please your kids. They're grown-ups, in fact. You've got to live your life.
Francine, thank you. There's so much more to talk about. I'm going to have you back at a future date because we have just touched the tip of the iceberg here. And I always like literally we have a minute left. Francine, quick. Tell me, what do you like about getting older?
I like that I am happier. I don't get excited about little things. And like so many of the other couples I talked to, like this woman who said, he goes into the kitchen and leaves all the cabinet doors open, and I get annoyed. And then I think about how great our relationship is. And I just say to and I just let it go.
There you go. Thank you so much.
Let it go.
For more information about Love After 50, you can go to Francine's website, www.francinerusso.com. And to all the single people out there, there's hope for everyone. Thank you, Francine, and thank you all so much for listening to Eat Well, Live Well, Age Well on KABC 790 AM. Please tune in again for engaging discussions on all things aging well.